Welcome to the M26 FIT Podcast, where we explore the connection between having a strong mind and a strong body. I'm Magnus Olson, and on today's episode, our special guest is Taneille Crase, a Commonwealth Games heptathlete who'll be sharing her journey and insights on pushing your limits, the mental fitness needed to win, how making a small decision can change everything, and the power of enjoying the process. From training to competition, Taneille will be sharing her secrets to success and how she was able to overcome obstacles to achieve greatness. Join us today as we explore the mind of a champion and learn how you can push your own limits and unlock your full potential. Welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me.
No. To kick us off, what got you started in athletics?
So I started athletics when I was 8 years old, at Little Athletics actually, at my local club, and I just fell in love with it. I don't know what it was about. I wasn't really good at team sports, and I was actually a horse rider before then, and then did Little Athletics. I was competing up against all the boys because there was no girls in my age group, and I beat them all, so I thought I did pretty all right, and it just went on from there.
So what sort of events were you doing with, what's that Little Athletics program look
everything. Like at Little Athletics, they offer running, jumping, throwing, so you can sort of try out everything. I was more better at the sprints and the jumps as I got older. Funnily enough, I looked at some of my Little Athletics records and I still had a discus and an 800 record, so that was strange. But you got to try everything, and I just fell in love with doing every single event.
Oh, no, that's awesome. What club was that one?
So that was Jimboomba Little Athletics, and then I was there for a few years, and then I progressed to Beanley Little Athletics before I got into the senior athletics clubs.
Wow. So how old were you then?
So when I started at the senior athletics clubs, that's when I was 16 years old. So my last year in Little Athletics was under 15s, and then, I went to the senior clubs when I was 16 years old and started focusing more on the sprints and the hurdles after that.
Nice. So what are you training for at the moment?
So I now do heptathlon, so I've definitely gone from a few events and specialising in mainly hurdles back when I was a junior to 7 events. For no one that knows what heptathlon is, because everyone does get a bit confused sometimes, it is an event that runs over 2 days, 7 events, and those events are 100 hurdles, high jump, shot put, and 200 on day 1, and then long jump, javelin, 800 on day 2.
Wow, pretty full-on program.
Yes.
So what's the future look like for you?
So what we're aiming for now after the Commonwealth Games is we're looking at qualifying for the World Champs in Budapest this year. Currently I'm in the top 24 in the world, and I just have to stay in the top 24. So that means travelling over to Europe, doing some competitions over there this season, trying to improve my personal best and my overall score, and just improving my ranking in the world as well. And then next year is the Paris Olympic Games in 2024. So hopefully I can qualify for those as well.
Yeah, wow. So the Commonwealth Games, that was just on, where did you finish up on that one?
So I finished 5th at the Commonwealth Games and achieved 6 personal bests overall. And it was the most amazing experience I've ever been in. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. You'd be very proud of yourself. Well done.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was more like I just went out there and enjoyed myself, really. It was my first international competition, my first major, and just going out there and experiencing the crowd and going out there and performing at my very best and getting personal bests, and all of that combined was just magical. And I was just proud of myself to even get there. Yeah.
Well, memory serves me correct, I think you finished and won the hurdles on the first day.
Yeah. So the hurdles was the first event, and let's just say I was very nervous for that event because unfortunately some things did not go my way leading into that event, and I was positioned right next to the previous world champion for the heptathlon, so that was a little bit intimidating. And all I remember was hearing that sound of the gun just go off, and I don't remember a thing after that. I remember my arms shaking and I'm heavily breathing in the blocks, and then all of a sudden the gun just went and I just went. So and then once I crossed that finish line, I looked up to the screen and saw that I won it. It was just an amazing start to the competition.
Incredible. Well done.
Thank you.
How important is mindset, mental fitness, mental toughness to succeed in sport? If you wouldn't mind sharing some
Absolutely,
tips.
so important. So I actually started focusing more on my mindset and the psychology part of the sport, just leading into Oceania Championships, which was in Mackay in June last year. I was going through a little bit of a hardship, I guess you could say, just with trying to qualify for Commonwealth Games and injuries and things like that. And I had a lot of stress on my shoulders because the Oceania Championships were the make or break to make the team, and so there was a lot of pressure. I started seeing a sports psychologist, and all the tips and the hints that he helped with my mind to help me perform at my very best was so important. And I believe that all of that combined was the reason how I qualified for the Commonwealth Games, as I came out mentally stronger than everyone else.
Yeah. So what age were you when you first had dealing with a sports psychologist?
So I've worked with a couple in the past. So when I first started specialising as a junior, that was back when I was 19, 20. That was my first time I actually worked with a sports psychologist. And then, after that, it's probably just been recently when I've started working with one again, because I've found the real need for it and where I'm going with my sport. I think it's really important that, I start working on the mental side of training, not just the physical side. Yeah,
no, that's great. Wouldn't mind, let's just chat about the benefits of physical activity for you, both mentally and physically.
Definitely. So I just find that, physical training and mental training is important. Like, I find that just being out on the track is good for my mental ability. And so if I'm having a bad day doing God knows what, if I'm doing university or if I'm at work or things like that, going to the track is my de-stress moment. If injuries pop up and things like that, then I find other ways to mentally deal with it and cope with it if I don't have the track to go to because of injuries. I enjoy just being physically active and going to the track, going to the gym. I thoroughly enjoy training, even though it might be a hard session and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this? It's what I enjoy doing, and it's where I feel comfortable. And I think that's more the mental side of things than just the physical.
Yeah, so it's your little happy place.
It is my happy place. Yeah. It's like my second home. Like, when you go home and you just completely switch off and you're just relaxed, that's what I do at training. Like, that's exactly what I do at the track. And I don't think many people have other places where they can just completely just switch off and do whatever they want to do. But that is my happy place. Yeah.
So obviously, sport being a huge part of your life, do you find that within the athletic community, is mental health anywhere near as much of a problem as you think in main society?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of athletes over the last couple of years have talked about mental health and how important it is. There's been a lot of athletes that have gone through post-game depression, or they've really struggled with injuries, or they've had situations that have happened with coaches or other athletes and things like that. And I think it is getting recognised a lot more now. Do I think it could improve? Absolutely. But I do think there is a lot more awareness about mental health, and we're slowly improving that, and we're slowly getting towards helping athletes deal with any sort of mental issues that we've got going on, or just any sort of anxiety or depression or anything like that that's going on. I think we're finally finding ways to help athletes out.
Yeah. So most elite athletes like yourself use sports psychologists?
I think so. Just from what I learnt at the Commonwealth Games and talking to other athletes, I think most of us use sports psychologists. I think it's a very important tool. Do we use it on a regular basis? I think that just comes down to the situation and if it needs...
The individual.
Yeah, the individual, if it needs to happen. Like, I know going into the Commonwealth Games, I didn't really need to speak to my sports psychologist as much. I had some appointments, but didn't rely on it too much because I was content. I was happy. I was comfortable. I was excited. Like, all the good emotions started to play. But going into Oceania, that was when I really needed to talk to someone and find tools and things like that. And that's the important thing, is they're not just a person to talk to, but they're also somebody that helps us with, educates us and gives us tools to use, and how we can implement that into our day-to-day life. That's the important thing. We're not just debriefing, but we're actually getting something useful out of it too.
Yeah. Slight change of pace. So your teaching career. So
Yeah.
you just finished uni last year,
yeah.
and time that you spend with kids in athletics programs as well. If we just have a chat about that.
Absolutely. So I just finished my teacher's degree about 3 weeks ago. So that was
Yeah,
super exciting.
congratulations.
Thank you. That's been a long time coming. I love being in the education world. I love teaching kids. That's my second passion. But I love educating them on athletics and helping them reach their passions and their goals. And even if it's just not in athletics, but I can help them improve their other sports, because I believe athletics is the foundation to every sport. So even if I can help them in any way, shape or form, that can help them reach their dreams. That's what I love to do on the side.
Yeah. So the teaching side of things, where do you find yourself this year? You've got a place?
Yeah, so I actually have a job lined up doing relief teaching, so 2 days a week, which is great. So relief teaching means I haven't fully committed myself to any schools or any classes exactly, so I still have the flexibility to train and travel and things like that, but it's enough to pay the bills as well and be involved in education still. So hopefully that goes pretty well until I know what my next step with my competitions are.
Yeah, that's a great concept, isn't it? Because obviously with all of your training, it might be difficult to tie down into one particular school. So the relief teaching just gives you that flexibility, I guess.
100%, yep.
Yeah. And I believe you just became an ambassador for Queensland Little Athletics. So is that going to keep you a bit busy as well?
Yeah. So I've just become an ambassador. So Little Athletics Australia called me and they said, hey, do you want to be an ambassador? Considering I was a product of Little Athletics. I came through those grassroots, and then I worked for Little Athletics Queensland as a development officer. And then, I'm still coaching Little Athletics kids. And when they called me up, it was a no-brainer that, of course, I wanted to be an ambassador. Like, what better way to promote our sport around Australia than, being an ambassador for Little Athletics Australia. So, I've done a number of promotions now where I've travelled around the country and visited centres and met little athletes and given them coaching tips and hopefully inspired a few to go towards aim towards their goals and dreams and things like that. And hopefully that can continue on for a couple of more years. So we'll see.
Cool. With Little Athletics, what age does the program start? Like, what kids can start?
Yeah, so most centres around the country, it starts at Tiny Tots, which is like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
So quite young. And then most centres around Australia go until under 17s as well. So there's every event. Yeah, there's every event for every age group and any abilities as well. They cater for absolutely everyone. And that's what I love about the sport. It does cater for every ability. So anyone can get involved and have fun with it. And I think that's the most important thing, is going and not just achieving personal bests or things like that, but it's meeting friends, lifelong friends, because I know that's what I did when I was at Little Athletics. I met lifelong friends and made memories, and it's the fun things at Little Athletics that you remember more than the medal that you won.
Yeah. Well, such a broad spectrum by the side. You said you're running, jumping and throwing.
Yeah.
Something for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Now we've got the M26 in 26, the 26 questions in 26 minutes. You ready?
Yep. Hit me.
All right. Let's go.
Open up my answers.
So what do you love most about heptathlon?
So what I wrote, and I had to really have a think about this a bit, but there's two things that I love about it the most. One is the challenge of going from each event and the mental ability to change from each event as well, because they're not the same events. So you've got to switch, and if one goes wrong, you have your ability to go, okay, that didn't go so well. I now need to take a moment to do whatever I need to do, get my frustration out, put that behind me, and then move on to the next one. So the challenge of all of that, I find, is thrilling, but also the camaraderie of the heptathlon. So meeting the other girls is incredible because we all train, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, we all understand the demand of this sport. So we're all going through the same thing. And then when we get to the end of the 800, and this is quite special actually, is at the Commonwealth Games and at the major competitions, we go for a lap of victory together. So it's not just the winners of the heptathlon, but it's everyone in the heptathlon. We all get to celebrate by going for a lap of victory together. And then even at nationals, we all get on the podium together. And you don't see that very often where it's always the 100s or the shot putters or whatever. It's just the first, second and third. But with the multi-events, everybody's getting up on that podium. And I think that's quite special.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're a great bunch of people.
But even the lap of honour, like you don't see that. Normally it's the person that wins. They're the ones that run around and do their little lap of honour with their country
100%,
flag.
yeah, so I just find that, I don't know, multi-people, we're friendly people. We're interesting people, and some people might think we're weird for doing 7 or for the boys 10 events. But I think, we're a special kind of people because of how friendly we are and how we like to interact all together. I think that's quite special.
Oh, fantastic. Let's just explain to us just the demands of the training required to be competitive at that international level, both mentally and physically, how that is for you?
So I find that physically the demand is huge because you're pushing your body to the absolute max it can go, and without it breaking down. And that's the challenge, is that you're going out onto the track not every day, but most days for training, and you're trying to push yourself so that you're ready to be your very best at competition day. And during that process, you're trying not to get injured. So you're finding, okay, where's my limits, but also trying to push to that limit as well. Your body gets exhausted and you're constantly sore and you're tired, but the most important thing is making sure you recover as well. So recovery is super important in order for your physical to get its optimal recovery and so it can perform better the next day. But exact same thing with your mental too. If there's no mental training and you're not using the tools that you have for your mental side, so you've got tools for physical, your coach, your training facility, your implements, all the coaching tips and things like that. If you're not using that for your mental, then might as well throw everything away because they balance each other out. Being able to train your mental side of things is super important for high level competition. And it's an everyday thing. Like you need to work on it every single day. It's not a
consistency.
It's consistent, absolutely. And that's one of, I'm sure it will come up eventually, but that's one of the important things is consistency across the board.
Yeah. Smartest person you've sat in a room with.
I found this really hard. So I was actually talking to my partner about this yesterday. I was like, who's the smartest person? And he's just like, oh, definitely me. And I must admit, look, he is the smartest person I've ever met. I actually call him Google half the time because he'll just ramble off random things. But I had to really think about this because there's no particular person that I can think of. But if I had to sort of summarize it, it's people that are motivated and have goals is the smartest people I've ever met. So people that are passionate about what they do and that are committed to achieving their goals, they always have a plan set out. They always have some sort of plan, whether or not it's in sport or in business or in anything that they are super passionate about. They always have a plan to achieve their goals and they're motivated to actually get those goals. And I find those people to be the smartest people.
And committed.
100%.
Yeah. What's been the most important lesson you've ever learned, do you think?
Yeah, so the most important lesson I think I've learned, especially over the last couple of years, is I had to learn to put myself first. And that was a huge challenge for me. I had to learn to say no a lot, which is very difficult. I'm a yes person, but I had to learn to put myself first, prioritize things a lot better and do things that was going to benefit me and not anyone else. So I had to be really critique with what I did, who I hung out with, what we were doing in that situation, in order for me to get the greatest benefit that was going to support my goals and my dreams, which was going to the Commonwealth Games, and now my further dreams are going to the Olympics. And so that's the greatest lesson I've learned, is I've put myself first.
Yeah, okay. Well, it must be, a difficult thing to do, but at the same time, it shows obviously that your commitment in wanting to achieve those goals, that's what you need to do in order to
definitely.
achieve them.
I think it was very difficult at the beginning, but now I have a lot of people around me that understand and they support me. So I have the right people around, and now we've gotten to a point where everyone goes, oh, yep, you've got training, cool, we'll hang out another time, or we will do this. And I think, or like for work example, my work, they say, we will put whatever you need to do with training, we will work around that. And that's where it's appealing to me, where people are willing to help me achieve my goals. That means that, the main focus is doing what makes me happy and helps me to do what I want to do.
Yeah. In one sentence, describe your definition of discipline.
Ooh, discipline. So I had to think about this one, so I did write it down. But it comes back to what we were talking about before, is consistency. So I found that discipline, there's going to be moments, and I have them, and I know many other athletes and people have had them, is sometimes we're just not motivated to train or do something. So we can't always say that we're always motivated, because there's always going to be times where we're just like, oh, I don't feel like doing this gym session, or I don't really feel like doing this track session today, or whatever it is.
Do it anyway.
But you do it anyway. It's the consistency of just rocking up and just doing it.
Just turn up.
Just turn up, because you never know that, like, it could turn out to be the best session that you've ever done. And I've had plenty of those in the past where I've just gone, I really don't want to be here. And I've spoken to my coach about it, and I've said, I really don't want to do this session. And she's like, okay, we'll just change it around then. And it turned out to be one of the best. And I just think the definition of discipline just comes down to just rocking up, turning up, that consistency of just do it, just try it. And then at least you've ticked a box. You can say, right, I've done that today. Was it the greatest? Yeah, it might not have been, but at least you've given it a go, and you're not just wondering in the back of your mind all the time going, oh, I should have done that, or I should have gone to the gym today, or whatever it is. And I think that's the key, or the definition to that.
Yeah. The greatest decision that you've ever made.
Ooh. So the greatest decision so far I've made in my life was at the end of 2020. I quit my full-time job and decided that I wanted to compete at the Commonwealth Games in 2022. And unfortunately, we all know what happened in 2020. COVID hit, and I had some injuries, and my coach was going through some medical issues at the time as well. And I was working full-time and I was studying part-time, and I put athletics to the side. I decided, I think I'm done, and I think I'm retired. And then, at the end of 2020, I was just not satisfied with what I had done with my sport. I knew there was more, and I knew I could achieve more. And I quit my job. I just decided to go back to training full-time and just do some study on the side. And I think that was the greatest decision I've ever made.
3 words to describe what it's like working full-time and training.
Yeah, right. So challenging would be the first one. It can be difficult, especially on some days if you've got a full workload and then you've got to try and train after that, it can be difficult. So challenging would be the first one. Time management. I've learnt that time management is super important. My phone is sort of chaos with just calendars and bookings and things like that, and being able to fit in things where you can still work and you can train and nothing's clashing together. So that's really important. And the last one I found was being well balanced. So being balanced. So I find that sort of prioritizing one more than the other or vice versa, that's unhealthy. But making sure it's balanced enough. So that's why I don't just do athletics. I do have a job. I do teaching. I have that other aspect of my life. And if both of them are balanced well, then everything sort of just works out. And I find that's really important to have.
Balance is a difficult thing, but it's certainly the key, isn't it? When you find that and you got that right,
definitely,
you're in front.
Yeah. I think it's important to work on. And if one just starts tipping over, then the other one doesn't work either. So it's important to work on that balance.
What gives you inspiration, Taneille?
I had to really think about this one. I'm gonna go back to what I had down. But what gives me inspiration is I love pushing myself to the absolute limit to see what I can do. So I love achieving personal best. I love being at my absolute best and competing and trying to improve myself all the time. That is what my inspiration is what level can I get to at my very, very best? I want to know that, and I still don't feel like I've found that level yet.
You haven't figured it out yet?
I haven't figured it out. I know there's more, and that's why after the Commonwealth Games I decided to keep going, because I wanted to know what my absolute maximum level is, and I'm still chasing that. So that's my inspiration is pushing myself to get to that level. But also my inspiration is also inspiring the next generation as well. I want to be a positive role model for the younger generation. I don't necessarily want to be remembered as, that superstar athlete that did that, because unfortunately not many people remember the person that won the 2021 Australian title in the heptathlon. But what people do remember is the person that was genuine, that was nice, that was giving, the person that gave up their time to actually talk to the athlete or give them tips. That's what I want to be remembered as. So if I can inspire that next generation to be their best and the best version of themselves, that also would be a pretty cool thing to keep going through the sport while doing that as well.
What a great answer, and I found it just inspirational listening to you say that.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Do you have a favourite saying?
Favorite saying? What did I? Okay. So there's a couple of other questions I know, but this was one of my favorite sayings, and my coach actually said this, and I wrote this down in my diary when I first came back to the sport, because I went, okay, I'm gonna keep looking at this saying, and there's a number of sayings that I do have or tips or quotes that I've actually got in my training diary. But my coach, and this one exactly, is the one that sort of pushed me to keep going. And what she said was everyone has dreams, but it's what you do with these dreams that is important. Dreams, once you make the decision to act on them, can become reality. Yeah. And that was something that I went, okay, I really need to give everything I can to achieve my dreams. So I need to act upon them. I need to actually do something. I can't just keep saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to achieve. I need to actually put that into actions. And that sort of saying stuck with me the entire time. And then once I reached my goals and I went to the Commonwealth Games, I went, oh my God, I did everything that she pretty much said was act upon your dreams. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Childhood idol. Did you have one?
Look, I must admit, it was a challenge thinking of one. But this comes back down to what my inspiration was. But one of the childhood idols that I did have was Jana Pittman. She was a 400-metre Australian hurdler. And I remember this one competition. It was called the Brisbane Grand Prix at Cusack. And after her competition, she came up to the grandstand and she signed and took pictures with every single athlete possible. And just the way she interacted with all the little athletes, even just straight after her event, she even went to the fence where everyone was lined up and came over and signed things and smiled for cameras and stuff like that. you don't see many athletes do that anymore.
Very giving.
And absolutely. And she sort of inspired me to be more like her. Like at that point, I wanted to be the athlete that, yes, would give back to the junior side of things.
How old were you then?
Oh, gosh.
What do you think?
So I think I was like 10 or 11 at the time. I wasn't very old.
Great impressionable age.
Definitely. So, yeah, she sort of inspired me to, be more interactive with the junior athletes and inspire those people. So and now that I've gotten older, there is a lot more idols in my world that I've sort of discovered. But the one thing that they all have is that they are compassionate and that they are wanting to give back and they're wanting to help younger generations, and they're the people that I sort of look up to more than our superstars, is the people that are willing to give you the time. Yeah. That's who my idols are.
Yeah, no, I agree. What annoys you?
I found this really hard because there's a few. There is a few. One in particular is, and this can sort of relate to anything, so I kept it really sort of broad, and that's toxic relationships. Yeah. You interpret that as much as you like. Toxic relationships can be with a partner, can be with friends, it can be with businesses, it can be with just situations. I've had a number of toxic relationships in the past, and that's just, like I said, very broad. But it's what you sort of do, and this is what really annoys me. You can either keep dwelling in those toxic relationships and you can keep saying, oh, but why me? Like, this is always happening to me, and feel sorry for yourself all the time, or you can go and do something about it. And I found that, like, I was down that avenue and nothing was improving. And so that's what started to really piss me off, is that nothing was really improving in my life because I was still stuck in that toxic environment, whether or not that was with work or in a relationship or with the wrong people or the wrong situation. So the only way to get myself out of that bad environment was actually do something about it, make a change, go and do something. There's nothing stopping you from changing your life. And
well said.
I find that the people that think that they cannot change, that's a lie. Yeah. You can go and change. So I made sure that when I was in a toxic work environment, I made sure that I got out of there. Yeah.
So you made a decision.
I made a decision, and I think everyone can make the decision, and it's what decision can you make?
And do something. And
do something about it. So the people that go, oh, I just can't change this, and why me, and all those, well, do something about it. And you can do something about it. And I know that, and this comes back down to the mental side of things as well, is I know it can be tough, and I know it's really hard to see the positive light. But it's the people that you have around you. If you've got the positive people around you, they're going to help you go towards that change, that positive change that you need, and get out of that toxic environment. So, yeah, I think that is one of the things that pisses me off. Another one is politics and sports, but that's for a whole nother session, I think.
All right, no, that was well said.
Thank you.
Said. Share a major setback or a challenge, and how and what got you through it.
So I've got a couple. So I guess the first one would be, like I said, back in 2020, I had a broken toe. My coach actually was rushed into hospital with blood clots on the lungs, so nearly passed away. And then COVID hit, so there was no sight of any competitions whatsoever. And so at that point, I made the decision to semi-retire and give up on my dreams.
You've struggled a fair bit, didn't you, with injuries throughout your career?
I did,
and that was sort of a bit of a pinnacle, wasn't it?
It was for me. Yeah, I'd had many injuries over the past, and that was sort of the pinnacle. And like I said, I was in a bad, toxic relationship with work and a partner at the time and things like that. And I think that also dragged me down, that
would have.
I didn't know what else I could do at that stage. So my decision at that time was, okay, I'm going to give athletics a pass for a bit, because there was no sight on – I didn't have any goals at that point because COVID made those goals impossible at that time. So I decided to do what I thought was right for me at the time, and that was work and that was study. And I still believe that working and studying was important at that time in my life. I never have regrets. So I think that was really important for me to do. But then towards that end, and I wasn't satisfied, I wasn't happy, and I started getting more positive people in my life and people that showed me what more I could do. So my current partner, he said, you don't want to go wondering what if a couple of 10 years, 20 years down the track. And I said, yeah, you're right. So I decided to, and my coach called me back up and she said, are you going for the Commonwealth Games or not? Because you either need to get back to training or you can kiss it goodbye. And so all those wake-up calls and those positive people in my life, I think my coach, my partner, my parents, all of them are positive people. They kicked me up the butt to get back to what I love doing and achieving what I want to achieve. And that was
what you're capable of.
What I was capable of. And even times did I think I was capable of it, I did challenge myself sometimes. But I the whole entire time I honestly believed, yes, I could do this. And then the second challenging time was just before Oceania. I hurt my ankle, and like I was saying earlier, the pressure of this was the last opportunity to make the Commonwealth Games. Even though I had ticked every single box that was required of me to make the Commonwealth Games, it still wasn't enough. So there was a lot of pressure, considering I was told that other athletes were also going to be considered for my selection if they had beat me at this competition. So that was really hard to hear and really, really challenging for me. And so that's why I started seeing a sports psychologist, because I had an injury and there was a lot of pressure on my shoulders. This was the pinnacle of my make or break. Are my dreams going to come true or not? So he helped me a lot. And so that's the how I got through this challenge, is by seeing him and working with him to come up with tools and ways. And then, getting to that competition, I don't know, just something came over me. Like I said to my coach the day before I started the competition, I said, this is the best I've ever felt going into a competition. And she went, oh my God. And like other athletes heard me say that. Like I said, nothing hurts. Like everything feels amazing. I feel amazing. Like my whole body feels great. And another athlete that was on the massage table next to me with the physio went, can you please give that to me? Like, can you tell me what your secret is? Because I would love to go into a competition feeling amazing. And my body and my mind felt great, and everything worked out the way it should have. And the way
you won?
I won, and I achieved personal best and an overall personal best, and I got that final selection for the Commonwealth Games. And I think so they were my two challenging moments were over the last couple of years at least. But they were the ones that sort of showed me, okay, I can either let this cripple me or I can let this actually fire me up and
define you.
And define me,
Yeah, no, I love that. Maybe I'll make it, maybe I won't, but I'm not going to die wondering.
Absolutely.
So tell us, when you're not working or training, what are some of the activities that you enjoy doing?
Yeah, so my partner and I, we love going camping. We just got back from Victoria actually the other day, and
wow, drove down there?
We drove down there, and then I flew back and he drove back. I wasn't doing the drive back again. So I love camping. I love being outdoors and doing a little bit of an adventure and just the peace, like the birds.
Tranquility.
The birds and camping by the river and just listening to the water and switching off, like having no technology is absolutely amazing. Like you don't realize how much you're on your phone or around technology until you can't use it. Like having no cell reception was amazing because you couldn't be bothered by anyone back home, and no one could reach out to you. So you couldn't do anything on your phone. So you could just sit down and read a book, or you could just go down to the river and have a swim. You could do things where you're not just constantly looking at a screen. I love just going out and camping and I have a few other hobbies. So my partner and I, we like shooting. So I like the target shooting. So I'm getting really good at that. So if I end up in the modern pentathlon, you know why. We do that as well, and some horse riding as well. So I grew up with horses, and we've got a couple at home. So I love sort of doing that every now and then.
That's a bit different.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. If you see me in the modern pentathlon, you know why. So I love doing all that sort of stuff as well. And it's a completely different world to athletics. And I think that is so important. I don't want to be absorbed in the athletics world 24/7 of my life.
No, it's not healthy. It's not balanced.
It's not balanced. And I need that escape sometimes from that world where I can just go and be myself and enjoy myself.
I'm glad you found it.
Thank you.
You know exactly what you want.
I like to call myself a country bumpkin, I think. You wouldn't think it at the track, but back home it's a different story.
Yeah. So where's Taneille in 5 years from now?
In 5 years' time, I would like to say that my partner and I would have bought a farm down in Victoria by then, in 5 years' time. I would like to think that I'm teaching full-time, maybe part-time teaching, part-time coaching athletics, because that's what I love to do. And I would say that, we'd have a farm with heaps of animals running around, heaps of goats. But the most important thing is I want to call myself an Olympian by then. Yeah. So in 5 years' time, I want to
Olympic medalist, maybe.
Oh, maybe. But I would be completely satisfied with saying I am an Olympian, and that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Describe your definition of happiness.
Oh.
By the sound of it, on the farm, camping.
Yeah, that is true. But I find that, my definition of happiness would be being so content with everything around me. So even when things go bad, and things aren't working out and you are upset and crying and things like that, it's being able to still see, okay, there is positives. I'm just having a bad day, and it's okay to have a bad day. I think my happiness, would be that I am completely content with everything that is going on around me. So being content with where I live and what I do, and being content with what I'm doing on the track and how I'm competing, being content with the work that I'm in and what I'm doing.
And you can control all that too.
And you can control it. So it's being, and I think you are the only person that controls your happiness. You are the control of that. No one else is. And I say that to my partner all the time. I'm the only one that's in control of my happiness. And
great answer.
And I think that, like I was saying before, we all have bad days, but it's being in that control state of mind that you go, okay, I'm having a bad day, and that's okay. Yep. But
that gives you the definition between a good day and a bad day. You don't appreciate the good days if you don't have any bad days.
Definitely. So I would say just being content and being in control of your own happiness.
Yeah. Do you have a daily morning routine?
So I don't have an everyday one, apart from just having a coffee every morning, because if I don't, I will struggle with life. But I do have a competition one, and I've only shared this with a few people. My competition routine is every breakfast on the morning of the competition, I have pavlova. And as weirdly as that sounds, it is. As weirdly as that sounds, it has helped me. And every time I have it, I perform personal best. And it's as simple as just having a little pavlova shell and some berries on top. And I must admit, I opened a couple of eyes on the Commonwealth Games team when they saw me eating pavlova, and the dietitian going, Really? But she fully agreed with it. She thought it was great. And all my dietitians now think it's fantastic. So that's my only daily routine before a competition.
Yeah, okay. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Trust the process was the best one I've ever received.
That is a good one.
Yeah, so that's one I've always lived by is just trust the process. Because even when you think that it's not going the right way or things aren't happening, just believe that it's going to, and just have faith in it that it's going to all work out the way it has to. I've had to be reminded of that a couple of times, especially going to Mackay and competing. Like even though I had an injury going into that, and I even had an injury going into the Commonwealth Games as well. But in my head, I just kept saying, trust the process. Trust the process. Because I've done all the hard work. I've done everything I can possibly do. Yep. I just need to trust, and everything will work out the way it should.
Awesome advice.
Yeah, thank you.
Your biggest regret?
Oh, so I was saying this before. I don't really have any regrets, I must admit, because as much as I might say, oh, I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I didn't do that, I like to think that everything that I've done has led me to where I am now. And if I didn't go through that, and if I didn't go through those challenging moments, and I didn't go through the toxic relationships or anything like that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I can't really define anything that I regret, because that word means that I would want to change it, and I wouldn't want to change anything that I've done.
Another good answer.
Thank you.
What does an average training week for you look like?
Oh, goodness. Busy.
So how many hours would you do a week in your training?
How quick is my maths? So I would say 5 hours on Mondays. So a morning session and afternoon session. So about 5 hours on a Monday, about 2-3 hours on a Tuesday. Because on Monday, so I'll break it down just to sort of get a little bit more sense of what I do. So on Monday mornings, we do javelin training. And then Monday afternoons, we do long jump and track and a little bit of med ball work. So I have a bit of a break. And so altogether, that adds up to be about 5 hours. But there is a break in between. Tuesdays, I have gym and recovery run. So I'm at my coach's place and in our little tin shed doing my gym workout there, and we're in the gym, and then I go for a bit of a recovery run afterwards. So that is my sessions for Tuesday. Wednesday we do high jump, shot put, and some like long jump run up work. So that adds up to be about 3 hours as well. And then I like to go see my physio on a Wednesday as well. So we count physio and treatments and things like that as a training session too. So that's another 2 hours there. So 5 hours there. Thursday, it's another morning and afternoon session. So javelin in the morning, and then in the afternoon we have high jump, different kind of high jump work, hurdles and speed work. So there's another 5 hours there. So what are we up to now? That's 15, 18. Fridays are very similar to Tuesdays. So that takes us up to roughly 20 hours, let's say. And then Saturday mornings as well, which is another sort of 3 hours in the morning. And then if I feel like I need extra work, I go and see a throws coach up in Toowoomba, and he helps me out every now and then. So I would say about 25 hours a week.
That's full on.
Yeah. Now that you've made me add it up, yeah.
That is incredible.
Thank you.
Fitting all that in, and then in between that you've got life and work.
So work is going to be managed into my Tuesday and Friday routines, because they're my least amount of training days.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to sort of slot that in there.
How important is nutrition and your diet to your performance?
So important. So I didn't realise how important it was until I actually went to the Commonwealth Games and I started working with the Australian dietitian. So I started talking to her about diet and what I should be eating for competitions, and because she was questioning me about it. She said, "What do you normally eat during your comps?" And I said, to be honest, I really struggle to eat during my competitions. I don't know why. I just haven't found the right foods to absorb and keep down and not make me feel lethargic or sick or anything like that. So she went, "Oh, okay, we need to work on that then." So I said, "Yes, we do." So we started having conversations about like what I could try at the Commonwealth Games, and not trying anything that was new, but just things that I've had in the past, but when was the right time to have them. So she educated me on when you should be eating and what you should be eating at this time or at this point. And then we sort of started having discussions after the Commonwealth Games about, okay, how can we incorporate this into your day-to-day life? How can we train you to go, right, food is okay to have and it's important to have it as your fuel to be able to get through training sessions and competitions, and it helps sort of recover your entire body to be able to get ready for the next training session. So I started working with one of her friends here in Brisbane, and we started talking about the importance of diet and how I need to eat more and it's not just about the foods that you eat, but it's the quantity of foods and when to have them and what's the most appropriate at what time. But then it's also finding what things are going to work best for you too. So I know that
you burn through an incredible amount of calories.
A lot,
that training,
yeah, absolutely. But I always struggled at the end of training sessions was having a protein shake. For some reason, protein shakes just did not agree with me. So one thing that I picked up from the Commonwealth Games was Up and Goes seem to do the trick, and they've got protein in them. So we started running with that now straight after training. And so it's little things like that. I'm still experimenting a little bit about nutrition and performance. I'm definitely seeing the benefit of them and recovery, but I'm still educating myself. And that's the exciting thing is I'm not the know-it-all or be-all of this sport. I'm still learning how I can improve myself. And
continuous improvement. Yeah,
so I think that's exciting for me because there's so much more I can do than once I actually get all of this education and learn more and improve myself more. Then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. What makes you laugh?
So actually I was talking to my partner just before I came here about it. He says I have a sickly obsessions with like TikTok reels and Instagram things, and but the ones I love watching the most, I must admit, is watching anything that has animals on them. I just find animals hilarious. Like any animal that does something silly is just funny to me. And even when I show it to my partner, he'll just go, "Yeah, okay, you're a weirdo." So yeah, I just find it hilarious, even though some people might go, "I don't know what you see in that." So animal videos, I would say, what makes me laugh. And I would say like my partner Juan, he does make me laugh. Like if I'm having a bad day, his go-to is, okay, let's try and make her laugh. Let's try and get a giggle out of her, because that's the only way to get a smile out of me if I'm having a bad day, is just by laughing about it. So yeah, I have to give him full credits that he is the reason why I like to have a laugh. And yeah, even if it's laughing at myself or laughing at something else, it's having a laugh at least.
All right, favourite movie?
Top Gun.
Top Gun. Have you seen the latest one?
Yes, I think that was my favourite one, even more so than the first one. I just think the amount of training and what they had to do to prepare for that movie was insane. Like I saw all the behind the scenes and how they actually had to go through the full-on training, like every single actor, like not all of it, and all of it's real, like all the planes and stuff like that. That's not special effects. Like they're doing that like right in front of the camera. Like that's amazing. So I just found that that side of the movie pretty cool, and the content of it's pretty amazing too.
Yeah, good choice. A must-have quality for success.
Oh, what did I write down for this one? This comes back to because I always say the key to success is consistency. So that to me is really, really important. And that is one of my sayings that I also have written down is the key to success is consistency. So I would say that is the quality, one of the qualities for success.
Yeah. Would you have three favourite books that you've read?
So I must admit I'm not a big reader. Not a big reader, but I do love Danielle Steele. I just find she's just really easy to read, and there was one book in particular. So I can't really ramble off three books of hers, but there was one book of hers in particular. It was called Winner, and it was a book that I got from a old Glen Innes library.
Yep.
Not really a library. It was a bookshop actually in Glen Innes. And it's just got a stack of books in there. And I just found this one. And we were going down to the Victorian High Country at this point 2 years ago in 2020, just when I decided to come back to athletics. So I picked up this book that said Winner on it. And it was about this girl where she was a skier, so snow skier. And she was training for the Olympics and things like that. And then she had a really, really bad accident that she paralyzed herself. So her legs didn't work anymore. And so her dreams were crushed. And then she had to find ways really to help herself deal, and her father as well, had to deal with, her dreams being destroyed and finding other avenues to find, I guess, happiness and to be content with her life and the struggles around that. And then eventually she actually started to learn that, no, there's another avenue that I can go down. I can go to Paralympics. And, she started training for that and doing that. And when I just couldn't stop reading this book. I was just obsessed with it. I just kept going, flicking page by page by page going, oh, my God, this is amazing. And it really hit me hard because I'm like, this is exactly what not exactly, I must admit, I have not been through anything traumatic like she had, but just the storyline about it was just so inspirational to me, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I can really relate to this, and it just showed that, you should never give up on anything. Yeah.
Share a game-changing tip advice with us.
Okay. So the game changer for me, and this is one of the tools that my psychologist went through with me, and I found this to be an absolute game changer, because rather than thinking about the overall result of the heptathlon, so you go through every event, you get certain scores for each event, and then you get an overall result, right? Rather than thinking about the outcome, think about the process, right? So
the actions.
And that even came down to, rather than thinking about the outcome that you want to get from each individual event, let's focus on the key words or the key cues that we need to use for each of those events. So say, for example, for the hurdles, I'll have 3 keywords that I focus on, and that is it. Whatever the outcome is, that's the outcome. But let's focus on these 3 words. And then once that is over, let's focus on the next 3 words. And so in my diary and for my competitions, I'd have these 3 words written down, and I'd look at those 3 words every single time I'd go into that event. And that is the only thing I'd look at. The only time I'd look at the points is when I got to the 800 meters, and I'd go, well, if I can run this, then I achieve this. And at that point, you're just running as hard as you can, and there is a bit of strategic thinking to it, but my key words really to that is just go hard. You've done the training, you've done the pacing, but just go hard and give it everything you've got. You might as well run it hard and hurt, or not run it hard and still hurt, but it's better off getting a PB out of it.
Because that's obviously everything you can control, because you can't control that end result, but what you can control is the action.
That's exactly right. And so that was a game changer for me, was thinking of those key words and thinking about the process.
Yeah. exact same principle. I read a book recently called The Achievement Zone, and that's exactly what he spoke of there. And that guy is a sports psychologist.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Interesting. Finish this sentence. I believe.
Ooh. What did I have? Oh, yeah. So I pretty much said, I believe anything is possible if you dedicate yourself to it. So,
True.
So I just think that, if I've got a goal, if I've got a dream, if I dedicate myself fully to that and have nothing impact that goal, then anything can be possible.
Yeah. You are an inspiration, Taneille.
Thank you.
I believe a lot of the things that you say, and it's fantastic to have you in and having a chat with you today. And all the best for the future and for the next lot of aspirations.
Thank you so much. I'm sure I'll keep you guys updated anyways on how I'm going.
No, but it'll be a big 2023 for you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining in on today's episode, and I hope this Strong Mind, Strong Body series empowers and inspires you. Make sure you've subscribed to our channel and leave a comment if you enjoyed today's podcast. You can also check out our website for more info about M26 FIT at m26fit.au.